So today, Bobby Joe Taylor joins me. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on. Pleasure.
No worries. So obviously your career is incredibly interesting, starting off at the Chelsea Academy, obviously spanning across League Two, even on the bench versus Manchester United. But we're going to get into all of that later on today. So could you start us off then with growing up in Chelsea, right? You played for Chelsea in the Youth Academy. So what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, surreal, really. Like looking back at it now, it's so many years ago, but having the luxury to be able to be at such a huge club, obviously that's my team as well. So growing up supporting Chelsea and then having the opportunity to be part of the youth section was almost like a dream come true at the time. So very grateful for that opportunity. Obviously was there until I was under 14s, and then we made the decision to pull out of the academy, to be fair, me and my dad. Because at the time I was a late developer, if you like, and I was playing with the likes of Cam McGeehan, who's still playing now, league football, had a decent career, Nathaniel Chaloba at Leicester, Lewis Baker at Stoke, these type of players. And starting my career as a youngster, I was like a forward, an actual 9, like striker. And then as I got older and I weren't growing as fast as everyone else, I started moving further back down the pitch. So my dad didn't like it. I wasn't really too fond of it. So we made the decision to sort of like come out of there. Whether that was a good one or not, we don't know. But obviously at the time, everyone was super athletic and sometimes it's in need of a change, really. And it was about maybe exploring other options. So something I don't regret. But obviously, you don't know what might have been the outcome, whether I would have stayed on there or not. But yeah, to be able to be part of that was obviously something that not many people get the opportunity to do. So to be able to say I got that opportunity is obviously a privilege. But yeah, being at the boyhood club was obviously something that I was really happy about.
Obviously, there's so many players that are in these academies that don't quite make it into the professional game. But for you to be around this environment, even before you start to think about building on to a career, you're just so happy to be at Chelsea, right? So what was that like day in, day out to be there around school, around that environment as well?
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, to be fair. We used to do so much training. Like, I think more so now, they're pretty much full time. So one of my best mates, Tom Howard, he's the under 14s coach, had a really successful one last season. Has now been sort of promoted to be the assistant to the 18s, which is a bit different for him. I still go in now. Obviously, I coach now in my career, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about further down the line. But I go in and sort of just have a look still, and I'm still in going into the club and having a look to see how it's done. And it's actually done probably a bit different now. Like, times have changed, how football's evolving, and at that age, how much demand there is. And they're almost pretty much full time now at a young age, and they're doing not only football but your S&C sessions, your gym sessions. Like, you're really well looked after. That's why it's top of the range, right? That's why it's one of the best academies in the country. So being a part of it was amazing. And we used to do a lot then. We had summer camps. We used to go away. We used to spend time at the club, training every day. Now they do day release and things and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, as I said, I go in there now. It's done a little bit differently, but it was super cool. A lot of commitment. But obviously that's the commitment that you're committing to try and be successful, right? So, and just to gain everything that I know now is probably from that foundation, being at Chelsea. You learn a lot there. You're surrounded by the best players, the best coaches. So a lot of what I've learned today and what I showcase now is probably down to the start of that journey. To be fair, the technical side of things, I mean, I definitely got to give credit to them coaches at the time that enabled me to be the player I am today.
So you made that decision to leave Chelsea and ultimately join Gillingham. So again, that's a pretty cool move for you to join a club that's reputable in the Football League. And what is Gillingham? What was that like for you behind the scenes? Like, because obviously you've gone from Chelsea in a really good state-of-the-art facilities to then Gillingham, which is obviously going to be a tiny bit different.
That was quite crazy, to be fair. So obviously I grew up in Kent. I lived in Ashford, which is like literally only about 25 minutes away from Gillingham, half an hour. But after leaving Chelsea, we had a few trials at a few clubs, Palace being one of those. And the funny thing is I went to Palace and I trialled as a centre mid, And I remember it clearly, to be fair. I was 5 weeks into the 6-week trial, and on the last week we played a game and I had to play left back. And I had a good game. So from then they asked me to come back for another 6 weeks, and I think they wanted to look at me there, but that was something we didn't want to do, which then led down to going to Charlton. Nothing come of that. And then I went to Gills and obviously done 14s to 16s there. And I actually played, going into trying to get a scholar, I was trying to get a scholar with Darren Hare, and we used to take Josh Hare and Jake Hessenthaler. Josh Hare, obviously his son, and Jake his nephew. We used to, sometimes share the car journey. So I was kind of hoping that I was going to end up getting a scholar there. And it was a bit heartbreaking at the time when I got told that I wasn't going to be offered one. And the ones that did, that I played with, don't play at all anymore. So it's kind of crazy how that sort of unfolds. And afterwards, when you go elsewhere, sometimes they look back, and I had conversations where they said that maybe they should have given me one. But that's football. That is football. That's part and parcel of the game. Like, everyone's got different opinions. And yeah, it was different. It was definitely different. It was only 2 times a week training, not too far away with the car journeys, but it was still good. You're still in a professional environment. You're still under good coaching. But the standard probably with the players is not as elite as the ones that you are surrounded by at Chelsea, and there's no sugarcoating that. Everybody will understand those clubs are sort of feeder clubs for the ones that, don't get into the big clubs and might get on somebody that's missed out, or they've missed out on, and they might find a little gem there. So, but it's all still the same system, the way they try and do things. But yeah, no, it was another experience that I took towards this journey that I'm on at the moment, and obviously one that I'm grateful for. Again, I still learnt a lot, and then obviously that led me to where I am now, or what happened afterwards. So yeah, different, but still very good setup there. They're doing a lot there now as well. That's changing, which is always good to see.
So you were there from 14 to 16, as you mentioned, and around that time, I suppose maybe towards 16, 17, 18, you really want to get into that scholarship and get that professional contract. But at 14 and 15, were you just trying to enjoy football, or was there always maybe like an external pressure to be a professional footballer?
I mean, it's a tough one because it's always running through your mind. So obviously being at Chelsea, when you move down and you're like, right, okay, I feel like I probably will get that opportunity. You sort of have that little bit of added pressure because you're thinking that if it doesn't work here, then maybe that could be the end of it. But to be fair, I must admit, I'll probably give a massive credit to my dad. He's a big supporter of mine. He's carted me up and down the country for all my career. We're still very close now. He still comes to watch me now. And I remember the days at Chelsea when I knew I hadn't played a good game, and my dad was very transparent. He's a football man himself. He always had his opinions, and I knew when I hadn't played well. I used to sit in the car and I used to face outside the window, and it used to be quiet for about 5 minutes, and then he would just rein in on me and tell me he would be the biggest supporter when I was good. He would let everybody know. He would tell me, he'd big me up, but then he'd also give me some home truths. And I think what that did for me, in all fairness, was the mentality. And I think in football, the mindset is such a powerful thing. And I don't think people understand football's never plain sailing. There's always rejection. There's always setbacks. There's opinions. There's so much that comes with it. And I think if you're not mentally strong enough and you don't have that mindset, then football probably isn't going to be for you, because you have to be the resilient one that gets back up when you get knocked down 5 times. And I always convinced myself that I was going to be a football player. Academically, I'm okay. I can get by. I've got common sense, but the sort of GCSE sort of stuff wasn't really my forte. So I'm more of a practical person. I like to be active all the time. So I convinced myself. I told myself I'm going to be a professional football player one day. If I can make that status, then I've sort of accomplished what I set out to do, and luckily I did. Obviously not now. Now at 30, I'm part-time, but I've had the professional status for most of my career. Not at the highest level, but I'm still able to live that dream that everybody wanted to do, where I was being able to have that as a job. So yeah, I mean, the mindset, after I didn't get that opportunity, was like, right, okay, what do I do now? So I remember going to the exit trials down in Guildford, and I had Rangers. Funny enough, I went up to Scotland just before I went into administration. Nothing come of that. I had Cambridge United, which was probably the next best thing at the time. And I went and trialled over there, and they wanted me straight away after the first game. I had a really, really good game, to be fair, left midfield, and that was an option. And then I actually played for fun at school, so that was probably my most enjoyable time of playing football at my school. Like, massive shout out to all my friends from school. We were really close knitted, and we had a really good school. We didn't school football team. I was the only one that played at a pro level, but most of us played for the county or the district. We all love football, and we went the whole 5 years at my school unbeaten. We won the Kent Cup. We actually made it that year when I was in year 11 to the English School Cup semi-final, which was at Loughborough. And we lost on penalties. It was a daylight robbery. I should have scored the winning goal last kick, and I missed. I should have squared it. And I remember us all in tears, and those tears quickly dried away when I had two scouts come and ask me, Stoke and Leicester, to go on trial. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, look, you're not emotional anymore. I still remember it, the arms around me. And I had to make a decision. So Cambridge were hot. They wanted to try and get people in at the time. They were Blue Square Premier at the time, which is equivalent to the National League. And they wanted me to give them an answer. And it was, do I go with that? Or do I risk going on trial and going to Stoke and Leicester? And me and my dad had a hard thought about it and thought, do you know what? We get a chance to cement somewhere where you wanted. And they like you, and you can tell like how much they invested in trying to get me to sign for the club as a scholar. So we took that plunge and said, you know what, let's do it. So that's how I ended up embarking on that journey at Cambridge. And to be honest, it was a good one because it allowed me to move away at 16. And sometimes you get distracted on a pathway that you don't want to be on. Obviously, I don't think that would have been the case for me, because I'm quite lucky, to be fair. I'm a small family. Mum and dad obviously separated now, but I've got a sister. Me and her really close. Mum and dad were close. Small family, really, nothing major. So they were always supportive of what I did. And then I was very lucky. I had really good friends around me. And when I decided to move away, they all supported that. And some people don't do that. And I'm always a big believer and fan of, like, you are who you surround yourself by. And I was lucky with that. Never got drawn to go down the wrong path. And I got to move to Cambridge, and it was a different experience for me at 16, moving away to Cambridge, away from the family. I remember them dropping me off the day that I moved up there, but that was bittersweet. It was definitely a massive decision, and one that I'm very grateful that I did, because I think that's what moulded me, not only within the football journey, but as a person as well, because that was definitely something that was enjoyable, yeah.
Well, you made your first team debut, I believe, against Mansfield in the 89th minute. So it's one of those where it was correct, right?
You've done your background check on me. That's good. That makes me not have to think too deep into where it's been. But yeah, it was actually. I remember coming on. I've got a picture still, actually. But I can't remember. It was Mansfield away. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And it was a 3-1 defeat.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, good to know I've done my research. But so you've come on in that moment, and I suppose your family might have been watching there. There would have been no pressure, because I suppose the manager probably would have said to you, "There's nothing major to come and do. We're probably going to lose the game, but you're now going to go and be a first team debut." Yeah,
well, I actually got my pro deal early at 17, which was such a relief. Like, they offered me a contract about 3 months before decision time, so. Me and one other, Liam Hurst at the time, he's not playing anymore. But we got offered contracts early. We was training with the first team quite regularly, and we were both doing very well. But at the time, Richard Money was the manager, and he was quite old school, really. I think he liked more of the experienced players, but was open to, but a bit reluctant to giving us probably the opportunity as such. But he did in that moment. Sort of obviously with nothing to lose, it was an opportunity for them to just expose me onto the pitch and get a taste of it, really. And from that moment, it was like eyes wide open, like, okay, here we go. This is something that I've been wanting to do for so long. And and then from then, I mean, I spent a lot of time out on loans at times, which I was doing quite well with St Leon's, Bishop Stortford. And then obviously got that opportunity at Mansfield. And then from then, it was sort of just like whenever I could get the opportunity, really. So yeah, that was quite cool. We was in the Blue Square Premier then as well, actually. So that was a National League debut as such, if you want to say.
Well, look, you played against Carlisle in a 5-0 win. Again, you've come on in the 85th minute. That was your first idea into the league football for Cambridge. So what was that like to step onto the pitch and then win as well?
Well, I remember that so clearly because I actually came on 4-0 up and we had a free kick. And obviously it was on the right-hand side and I'm left-footed. He told me to take the free kick and I whipped it in. And I still don't know whether Jaden Stockley actually got a touch on it, but he's claiming it. So they say it's an assist, but I think it might have gone straight in, but we don't know. But I didn't care anyway. I was so buzzing, like, come on, goal contribution, home debut, in front of the people at the Abbey, which knew, I built connections with people around the club, fans. It was lovely. I had a song there. And I remember.
What was the song?
It was quite simple. I'm pretty sure it was just like, oh, Bobby Joe. It was something along the lines, something like that. The best song that I had was at Maidstone, to be fair. They had a good one for me. It was what's the Bobby Joe, always believe in your soul. Yeah, that was a Spandau Ballet Gold, and they changed it. That was probably the best song I've ever had at a football club. But it was quite cool, yeah, and it's a real moment. And I remember Jez George, who was part of the directors at Cambridge, he made sure that the media didn't catch me because they didn't want me to do an interview afterwards because I wasn't ready for it. But I was buzzing, to be fair, because I was thinking, right, this is good. I've come on, set up a goal. I've done okay in the minutes that I had. It was only short, but maybe this is the opportunity that I'm going to get where maybe they trust me and give me some more minutes. And that did actually start to build it. I mean, I played more. That was in the Football League then. I played longer away at Wickham. I got half an hour, I think. I made my full league debut away to Oxford. I played 80 minutes. I played well. So this was me thinking this was it. And that was the first year the Blue Square had a 1-year deal, and then they had an option. And I was only young, I had no agent or nothing like that. I'd never really been a big believer in them anyway, to be honest. And they triggered the option, so I had another year, and that was in the Football League. And that was like, right, perfect. I'm now in the Football League. This is brilliant. Great opportunity. Might get some more minutes. So I ended up playing, I think I had eight appearances maybe in the Football League. I had one JPT Johnson Paint Trophy way at Crawley, and I had the FA Cup against Mansfield as well. I'm pretty sure we won that one in the FA Cup. And I got some bonuses for that, like of half an hour on the pitch, and I was like buzzing. This is class. And then it came to the end of that, and they offered me a new contract. I don't mind diving into it, to be fair. And at the time, I wasn't on a lot of money as a youngster at 18. But I was getting to 20 now, and I'm like, right, okay, I'm becoming an adult. Like, this is where I need to sort of like start thinking about, maybe I've had 8 appearances. I've been here a long time. I'm happy to, sign a new deal, but they said they were going to offer me a new deal, but they weren't going to offer a lot more money. And I was thinking, oh, okay, maybe an extra 100 quid a week, 150 maybe on top of that. And they offered me an extra £50 a week, and I couldn't. And I said to them, like, I can take away the bonuses, whatever you want. I just need more of a basic wage there, just so, like, I'm getting to the age where I'm going to be 21. And they didn't want to do it. Something that Jez, when I spoke to him, there's no love lost, but afterwards said he kind of regretted he should have maybe gone a little bit more. But this is it. It's part and parcel of where it is and where you're at. These things happen. So that was it. That was the end of that. And I left there, and then again I was blind-eyed. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was kind of crazy because I owe a lot to Ian Miller at the time. Dusty, we called him. I just remember him ringing me, and he was an experienced pro at the time, and he said, I've just been on holiday and I bumped into Jay Saunders, who was the manager of Maidstone. And he said to me, I bumped into him and just got talking, and randomly, like, this is how, like, things just work, right? And he said, I was talking and I told him about you. He said, we got this lad, he didn't sign a new deal, he's really good, and he was looking for a lefty at the time. And then he called me and he was like, do you want to come down? And I went down and managed to sign a good deal as well, thinking, all right, okay, National League South, like, we start again, let's go again. It doesn't matter, I'm still young. If I'm playing and I'm playing at a good level, when you're a youngster, it'd be easy for someone to pick you up again anyway. So it was like a fresh start. That was the mindset, like, let's go again. And then that's how that unfolded. And then, the journey's great. Like, I could be here for ages, mate, honestly. Like, I've had loads within the mind of, like, how and what we want to do. And yeah, that's how that come about. And then that's when obviously you'd go on to, so yeah, from Cambridge to Maidstone in the National League South as a 21-year-old, and that's where the non-league journey kicked in from there, basically. And then I've been in step one pretty much most of my career up until, the last couple of years.
So before we go on to Maidstone, there's a couple of things that you mentioned in there, and we didn't mention about Manchester United. So in the FA Cup, you played them in a replay, and you were on the bench. I don't think you came on, but it was at Old Trafford. It was 75,000. The team was playing against Rooney, Van Persie, De Gea, all these brilliant players. So in the game, after the game, you don't look too impressed. I think you wish you'd went on the pitch, right?
Right, that was mental. I remember us drawing them at home. And I won in the squad for the home match. And obviously I was gutted a little bit because I'd been in and around it, played in the previous round. But I think we had like a pretty full squad at the time, or we was only missing a couple of players. And I won in the squad. And then we got the draw, which got the replay. And I know this sounds really bad, but like there was like there might have been an injury to somebody or something, and I was just hoping that they weren't going to be fit for the game, knowing that I'd be in the squad. And it turned out that happened. So like selfishly, I was like, oh my God, this is class. Like going to Old Trafford, like if I get the chance to come on the pitch. And do you know what? I was a little bit disappointed, if I'm being completely honest, because we were losing the game. I think we lost 3-0. We had the best chance straight off. Tom Elliott could have gone 1-0 up. He didn't score. And then we ended up losing 3-0. And I'm thinking, right, okay, this is an opportunity. Put on one of your young players, like get them the chance to play a bit of exposure. People might look at it and go, okay, like there's a youngster coming on. Would have been a great experience for me as well, even more of an eye-opener. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, right? That's, again, these things, but I was a little bit gutted. But that was I remember just being, I had to be turning up, be a part of the squad, even though I weren't in it at home. And I remember Louis van Gaal walking down, and then all of a sudden you're looking at these athletes, right? And you remember Antonio Valencia, like you look at him on the TV screen and he walks in, this absolute unit. Like I'm sitting there thinking he's like a bit smaller than me. Like he's literally a tiny bit smaller than me, but he looked like, I couldn't, he was massive. I was like, Jesus Christ. And then it was just all flooding in, and you're like just looking at it going, what's going on here? Like, have I done something wrong my whole career? Like, these people are like proper athleticism. Like, it was mental. And then, and then going away, just warming up, Matters warming up, Rooney's warming up. Like, you're seeing these players just spraying the balls about, and I'm videoing, like, being at Old Trafford. I had probably the worst haircut I've had in my whole life. I had the long hair growing out, looked like a bird's nest. I remember I've got all the pictures still, and I'm just looking around like, this is just, And I played at Stamford Bridge when I was at Chelsea, like under nines, like box to box, like they bring it in, like the hallowed turf. But you don't really remember it like as a youngster, like it's more of an excitement thing. Whereas you go to Old Trafford at an adult age, and you're just like, wow, like this is where you want to be. Like this is mental. You've got 90,000, 85,000 fans, like the way they do it there. So that was an amazing experience, and like it gives you the bite that you need. You want to sort of try and get there, but obviously football is opinions, luck, and also like talent along the way. So, but that was good. That was really good, mate. It was a great experience. So I'm grateful for that. I remember it for the rest of my life.
You mentioned an agent as well before, and you said you don't really believe in them, which is quite an interesting thing to say, because obviously you can't get to anywhere without an agent, but obviously in hindsight, agents would help. So why don't you believe in the whole agent realm?
Well, I would say I do believe in them to a certain extent. I'd probably say when you're getting the interest that you are when you're at a certain club at lower levels, then I think they're important to be able to look after you, to be quite honest. But I'll probably say, speaking in non-league, people that have agents, I'm not really a big fan of, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think, me personally, I've always known my worth. I'm sort of like, I can go in and hold my own. I like to go and meet people face to face, because it's easy to hide behind a phone, and sitting down and people get to understand you as a person, you as them. I know my pedigree. I know what deals I've had. So I'm quite comfortable going in there representing myself, to be fair. And I think, I'm not happy with any decisions I've made when I've gone into clubs. I've managed to do it all by myself. I know what's involved with football. I know like what you can get, like, in terms of your money, your bonuses, all the things that come with it, and also ultimately depending on how much somebody wants you, right? So if somebody wants you, they'll give you, and you know what you want if they really want to do it. So then you sort of know whether people are interested or not. So, I mean, in terms of the bigger picture and the bigger clubs, I think you probably most definitely do need one. But I'm probably speaking on behalf of non-league, you know, people in lower leagues that have, you know, are older ages and have agents. I think it's pretty not pathetic, if you ask me, to be honest. I don't think they're going to do much more for you than what you can do for yourself, and they're probably in it just for their own pockets. And I've seen that along the way when people are struggling for clubs and they're after their agents, and all of a sudden they're not around, or they don't show much interest. It's a selfish game. Football is a selfish industry. Everybody knows that, and I've been a player and I know what it's like. So I try to make sure that I am not one of them people. I'll humbly say I'm probably one of the good guys in football. So I try and help people out just for the sake of trying to help people out. So, yeah, I'm not really a big fan, if I'm being honest.
So Maidstone came up next, and obviously you were there for quite a few years, and you went to the playoffs with them. And yeah, could you just explain to me about the whole experience there, that you're now in a really good level with them?
Now that one is probably where the journey really started in non-league, because I went in there and I started playing, and I was playing quite a lot, coming from, you know, Football League, etc. So I got that opportunity, and I think about halfway through the season, I had a bit of a blip, and I actually fell into the non-league mentality, if you like to call it. I was on a wage at that age where I didn't need to work. So I sort of just turned up to training Tuesday, Thursday nights, playing games. With my time off, was probably playing the computer, not really investing the time in myself to actually push myself to be the best version of me. And I come out of the team, and we got to like the last 14 games or something, and I was like, nah, what are you doing? Like, this ain't good. Like, coming up to the end of the season, you played the start, you've had a block where you're sort of in and out, you're not playing so much. Like, this mentality it kickstarts something switched in my brain, and I was like, so I got myself to the gym, I started working hard, doing extra sessions, putting the work in, and then I got myself back into the team, going towards the back end of the season, and we were having such a good season considering they'd just been promoted. We had a real good group of players that just, you know, similar to Dorking in terms of the environment, just loved being there. We had fun, nothing too technical about it, and just a good core group of players that loved playing with each other and understood each other. And it was a great changing room, and that carried us through. And then that was some season, and got myself in the team, and I think I had goal contributions, a Truro in the playoffs, and then we went to Ebbsfleet, and I scored. I scored the first goal, and played a part in the second goal, and then obviously in the penalties. And that was like, that was something. That's a day that I genuinely would never ever forget. That was winning the playoffs, like after being the underdogs. Not only that, is after the celebrating, I ended up going to Australia for 6 weeks to see some family, and that was crazy. And that was just like the part that I tried to give back now to the players, and just sort of said, like, you know, how much mentality and how much you invest in yourself is important. Every percent counts. The gains that you'll get from the little things that you don't think matter, but they do. No matter what it is, whether that's nutrition, whether that's doing gym work, whether that's sleep, whether that's like doing extras, whether that's asking the coach what you can do better. Like, there's always a percent that you can gain that give you a head start. And I don't know what happened. I don't know where it came from, but something just in my head was like, you need to get out of this, what you're doing. And thank God that happened, because otherwise I don't think I wouldn't have managed to have the career that I had in terms of being in the game professionally for as long as I did. So that's one to remember. Sorry, mate.
Well, no, that's all right. So in the whole playoff situation, to score that penalty in that pressure environment, and then to win and all the celebrations, to celebrate, what was that like to go up to the National League?
Oh, that was amazing. That celebration that day was unreal. I mean, I probably don't remember much of it, to be honest. I just remember picking a trophy up, being with the fans, celebrating, getting a picture, and then the rest is a blur. I think it was just continuous celebrations with the loved ones, with everyone around, everyone just singing, getting, you know, we had drinks, and just enjoying the moment. You know, that moment that will live for a long time. The next season, they had a canvas up in the in the bar at Maidstone, 'cause I stayed another year, and I was in there, celebrating with number and name on the back of the shirt and all that sort of stuff. And we had a season in the National League, first time round from there, and yeah, like that was it. Yeah, to the end of that season, they wanted me to stay, but couldn't really do much more than what they were doing for me at the time. And I had England C at the end of that season, so I bit the bullet and took a gamble this time, to be fair, and I decided not to sign a new deal. And then I went to England C, and again I had a decision to make. I had numerous National League clubs asking me to sign, Wrexham being one of them, which is crazy. I mean, they weren't in the journey they're on now, but I remember Dean Keats, I was actually meant to get the train up and meet him, and he cancelled. He cancelled because he had a course to do, and I was meant to we was rearranging for like the following week. And I ended up meeting Gary Woodcock at Aldershot, and I just loved Gary. The way I sat down, it was like being in an interview, and he didn't say what he could promise me the world. He asked me questions like, what do you think you bring? And I was sitting there like, well, like this was different, and there was no like favourites with anything, and you just got that feeling. And I actually turned down Stevenage in the Football League to go there because I just felt like it was right. I secured a good deal, 21, 22. Going into full time again, into the unknown, got to moved up there again for a short period of time, and made that decision. And Stevenage I couldn't go to because they offered me a one year option, and I had to play 40 games that season to get a better deal, and I had no travelling up and down, no accommodation. All the factors that come into it was too difficult for me to actually commit to. So again, I thought, oh well, I'll go and play full time Aldershot Pro again at a club that's been in the Football League, a lot of history. So we'll do that. And I like Gary. Gary was one of my favourite managers to play for, and obviously it was a bit short lived, to be honest, because after 10 games I suffered an MCL injury, and it took me a while. When I come back, it was almost like, I'm back. Yes, let's go. He actually said to me, I'm so gutted that you got injured. He said, because I genuinely think it wouldn't have been long. We wouldn't have kept hold of you. He said, like, I was doing so well. And then after that, I didn't sign there, and then moved on again. And I had quite a lot of clubs that I kept like moving on. So through my career, which is not very nice until I found a home at Dorking. But, that's it, part of the journey. I'm grateful again, got that to experience that. Played quite a number of games at the time, even when I come back, but I just never hit the ground running. You expected there was no under 23s for you to get minutes and get back to your fitness. There was no professional that sort of got you your rehab and your recovery and ready to get back into contact sport again. It was almost just like off the cuff. So I think I struggled with that a little bit, and they didn't take a gamble on keeping me again for another season. So, again, part and parcel of football, that is what it is. We go again.
So you mentioned England C, and obviously I don't think people are actually quite sure about what that is. I've heard of it quite recently, and the fact that there's quite a few National League players that get the chance to represent their country. So just briefly, because I know we've got quite a few more clubs to go through, but like, what was your experience like with them?
Yeah, that was really good. That's basically representing your country at non-league level. So anybody would be buzzing to it, and also it's good exposure. A lot of clubs look at people because it's almost like they say the best players of that season in the National League. So Paul Fairclough, I think it's, he's the manager at the time. He's a big pedigree. He obviously goes and people watch games throughout the National League season, and then he picks the best players from that season that were able to play at under the age of 23 or 24. I can't remember. I think it's changed now, but at the time, and obviously I was in that bracket, so I got to go and because I started the season really well in that National League. I scored 8 goals, I think, before Christmas. So I got into that. And then when you're there, it's exposure because a lot of clubs go, okay, there's a lot of young players there. We can go and have a look to see what they're about. And you get to play games. We played Punjab FC, and we flew to New Jersey and played some Jersey out on the Channel Islands, one of the islands. And that was quite good. It was a good experience. Like, it was all done differently. You weren't allowed mobile phones. Like, you had to interact and learn a different way of football, tell your stories, your backgrounds, get to know other players, build connections. It was quite cool.
So after you mentioned that you went to Aldershot, after came Bromley, right? And again, I think for you, maybe I'm going to make an assumption that perhaps you would have liked to stay at Bromley because you only played about 12 games and then got loaned out to Dover. But your time at Bromley, I would say, was pretty short-lived. So what would you make of that experience?
I personally feel like this was a little bit of a personal vendetta, this one. People he'll disagree. Neil Smith was the manager at the time, and I got nothing. Neil's a great guy. I went and met Bromley before Aldershot. It was a decision to make, and I decided to pick Aldershot. But I let them know. I didn't just do it. I said, like, I've decided I'm going to go and move away, not stay close to home. I'm going to give myself an opportunity, and I just feel like this is the right move to make. And they were a bit disappointed about it, but fair enough. So then I went there the season after, and I didn't start the first game of the season. Then I started the second game of the season against Dover, and then I was just in and out. I didn't really play for whatever reason. There was nothing behind it, so I didn't know what was going on. I feel like it was almost like, well, you didn't sign for us, so we're sort of almost going to just let you be part of it. But that might not be the case. But that was my thought process at the time. And they were trying to get me to go on loan to the league below, and I was like, not a chance. Like, there's no way, And that's when Andy Hessentire rang me and asked me, and Nicky Southall, who I knew as well, said, like, do you want to come to Dover? And I was like, they were in a bit of a rut at the time. They had not 15 points. It was half of the season to go. We need to do something about it. And we know what you're about. We know what you can bring character-wise, trust. So, and I was like, absolutely, 20 minutes away from where I live, and where I lived in Ashford. Let's do it. And buzzing that I'd done that, to be fair. I really enjoyed it. We got some good players in at the time, good characters. Stuart Lewis come in, Jay Reason, players that I knew about as well, obviously playing against with experience. With a couple of the players that were already there that were good as well, and the tables turned quickly, and we stayed up. So that was a really good season as well. Like, I really enjoyed that. Hess come in. I love playing for Hess as well. What a guy! He was a really good guy. Proper old school. Loved the running. All about the mentality. That was an eye opener. It was tough, mudded, but it was good. It like give you that little grit. And I did well. I did well there, so I was well loved. So that was good. And then obviously that's when COVID struck. After that, the season after, I'm furlough and a lot of technical things. I had a fallout with the chairman, which made me then leave again, even though they wanted me to stay. He threw us under the bus a little bit, to be fair, if you ask me, but I don't want to go into detail. I don't like to talk about people like that. But anyway, so then from then I moved on again. So I only spent a season and a half, roughly, or something at Dover. I would have stayed. Yeah. But Hess was really good with my decision, and he absolutely backed me and said, like, look, obviously I don't want to go, but I completely understand. And then that's when I went to Ebbsfleet.
Well, you mentioned that you were obviously at Dover for a season and a half. It was 2 years on paper, but obviously in the football time it's a bit different. But you played over 50 times for them after the deal was made permanent. So I suppose, again, you wanted to have stayed there longer, but that is the reality of some players in the National League.
Yeah, that's it. I would have stayed. I loved playing for the staff that were there, to be fair. And ultimately, sometimes that's one of the big things in football. When you have like a relationship with somebody, that you can trust, that are going to be transparent and honest with you. That's what I got. If I didn't play, you'd have a reason why. No, there's nothing to hide behind. You sort of just knew where you stood, and I think that was ultimately why I loved being there. I've always been somebody that doesn't like the bullshit of football. Excuse my language, but like, I don't like that side of things. I'd rather be told. If I need to work harder, tell me. Like, if you just don't think I'm doing well, or when I'm doing well, I don't need praise, but sometimes that little, like, well done, like just a little give me up, to keep you on that, the mindset of like, just stay focused. And I got that there, which is what I loved about playing for them. So I would have stayed if things would have went the right way, but it didn't. And I had some good fans there that after like messages come out about what happened with furlough, and some of us asked to do like paid deficits and stuff like this. And a few of us made that decision because we couldn't do it. Straight away, when you go off the cuff and you read something, you might be painted out to be a bad person, but people knew me there. So everyone sort of vouched for me, and there was no love lost there. I think I've got to give credit to say where I think everywhere I've been, I've never come away with any bad blood from anywhere. Because again, I'm transparent, and I'll always say my honest opinion on things or how I feel. And, it gets you in trouble, but it gets you out of trouble because, nobody can ever say you've not been true to yourself.
And obviously in that COVID time, that furlough period would have been hard to maintain the athletic body, right? So how did you cope with COVID in the whole lockdown?
Oh, COVID was horrible. You know, that's like 2 years wasted. I tell everyone I'm 28 because I don't count it. Yeah, that was real tough. That was real tough, COVID. But, you know, when I went to Ebbsfleet during that time, we actually, well, when this happened, we spent the time where we weren't allowed to do much. But as soon as we could get back on the pitch, we were back out there and we were still quite active. I mean, I felt like a caveman after the first time when I sat indoors all the time to then go back out on the pitch. It was like, Jesus Christ, it's daylight again. It took a bit of time to get accustomed to, but then that was happening, but we just didn't know what was going on. Like when I then went to Ebbsfleet and the season was starting, but there was noise that it was going to be cut short, and we were doing well, and it was like we're trying to make it work, and we were training, and it wasn't nice that time. You know, it was a horrible time to be you know, involved in football. Being able to be active was quite nice, but like all the protocols that come with it. To be honest, I think anyone will tell you different. No, I don't think anyone will tell you different. It was, you know, COVID's absolutely killed a lot of people, man. It was 2 years wasted of football time, really, to be honest. It's for what the outcome was, it was really frustrating. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's something that's out of your control. So you have to live with it, I suppose. It is what it is.
So Dorking came up next, and you mentioned that was your first like proper home. And obviously Marc White is some character to be asking you to join his club. So how did you get that move with Marc?
Well, he was actually watching the Hungerford game. He came and watched the Hungerford game. And again, Ebbsfleet wanted to get offer me a new deal, but Marc come in, and I've never ever been wanted by somebody ever. Like, in all fair, like, credit. And do you know what? Me and Marc get on really, really, really well. Even now, really, really well. We talk a lot. One thing I must give him absolute credit for is what you see is what you get. And when you're part of his gang, is if you're part of that, the family, like you're part of the family, like he will look after you 100%. There is no denying that, and anybody that knows him will tell you the same. Football inside, obviously, we have our ups and downs, which we could come on to, but like, you know, we both know the same. But I watched the Hungerford game, and we were down to 10 men. I had a really good game, to be fair. I scored. We were 2-1 down. We had 10 men. I think I had involvements in the goals. I had loads of opportunities, and then I ended up scoring the winner, like from left centre half. I made combinations, followed my run into the box. It got crossed in, and I got an in for header. We won the game, and afterwards, I remember Jamie Harrisman. He literally said to me, "Who is this? Like, I need him to come and sign for us." And from that moment on, obviously, Ebbsfleet wanted me to stay and sign. I was speaking to other people because he's not allowed to indirectly because I'm under contract. I was just talking to people that I knew at the club, and they were going like come to Dorking, like Marc really wants you to come to Dorking. It's really good here. They were telling me about the club, and it was like feeder him just like raining down on it, and it was like, all right, okay, I'm sitting in Starbucks at 6 a.m. thinking about signing Bobby Joe Taylor. Like, honestly, you're gonna love it here. And then this was like, okay, fine. I would be able to commit to a 2-year contract somewhere. Ebbsfleet at the time were like, we'll give you 1 year. Then eventually, when I decided to say that I'm going to move on, they wanted to then give me the 2 years. But at this point, I'd pretty much committed, and I won't go against what I wanted to do. And then that's what happened. And then he was just on me constantly, voice notes every morning, like every day, like all the time, like until we got it done. And then when I come in, he was telling everyone about me, and it was like I was so wanted. Like, it was like, wow, this is crazy. I can't explain to you how much I wanted I was, and he was just, yeah, it was really nice. And listen, Dorking has been a home for the last 4 years, and it still is, because I work there now. I take the under-19s, like the ones that I'm trying to feed through to the first team. We've had a few that are in the squad this season that I coached last season. We had some of our youth products that got pro deals, so I'm sort of that in between now of trying to get them in that pathway to, you know, knowing how Marc likes us to play the club. He trusts me to be able to relay that with the youngsters, and we have that relationship. So, so it's still my home, and it was hard to leave because, you know, he did offer me a new contract. There was like, you know, things that come with it that I couldn't do. Unfortunately, I've just had, you know, I've got a 7-month-old baby, and like them, you know, it was something that just didn't work for me. We went back and forth trying to make it work, but it couldn't. And it was hard because I built so many connections at the football club that it's hard to cut ties. I think that was the hardest part. It wasn't the football. The football was like, I know I'm going to go and find another club. I know I'll be able to play football somewhere. So the football wasn't. It was cutting the ties, like the 4 years spending with most of the same players, building that bond with the players that now friends for life that I still speak to now. It's actually a homely club where all the fans are amazing. Like every single fan is amazing. They love the club. They support home and away. They're invested, and they're all lovely people. Like I speak to loads of people. It's the management team. It's Marc included. It's like, even though the football was limited, it's cutting them ties, which was the difficult part. But every flame burns out, right? And I said that to Marc when we sort of said that, this was it. I said, look, Marc, every flame sort of fizzles out, it burns out, and that's my time here, really. And he was emotional about it and sort of said, I really want you to stay. And anyway, like we still, we're still in touch. I still see him because I'm still in every day. I still go and watch when I get the opportunity to go and watch. Like it's still like almost once a wanderer, always a wanderer. So yeah, 4 years I spent at that club, which could have been more, but I'm still part of it anyway. I still, as I said, still part of the youth products, and I'm able now to give back all of my experiences and try and help however many I can to try and get their foot in the door to the first team.
Well, in the time that you were there, obviously Dorking got promoted into the National League, where you played for quite some time. So again, that whole promotion thing with another club now.
Yeah, that was class. That's another class in history for the football club, right? Going into the National League, so to be a part of that as well. That was amazing. What a day that was, and that was against my old club. So that was crazy. Scoring in the last minute and then winning in extra time. Yeah, that was what a day that was. Again, celebrations at the club were crazy. I think I went to bed early hours of the morning because it was history for the football club. So yeah, to be a part of that and have another promotion as well. Being at Cambridge, I had one. Obviously, I weren't part of the FA Trophy, but some success being around it. Then we had obviously the success at Maidstone. Then I did it at Dorking. I think I've been successful, touch wood, in every player final I've been in the National League South to get into the National League. So yeah, that was immense. That was immense because it meant a lot to a lot of people. That was the most important thing. Like, seeing everyone around the club, the smiles and the celebrations was probably the best as well. Another day I'll never forget.
I believe you went on loan for 1 month to Waltham and Hersham, and I'm saying this because Waltham and Hersham are they're quite well known on social media for being the world's youngest football club owners, right? So to be around that environment with those owners, did you ever have like a communication with them? What are they like to work with?
Yeah, they were fun. Good. Collage was a really, really good guy. Really invested as a youngster. Does it by himself now with an American guy. So, but he's really committed to what he's trying to build there. Good club. I did at the time. I wasn't actually sure if I was gonna go there, because when I said to Marc I want to go, I said I want to go to step 2. I want to go and play in the same, like, I want to play there. And he was like, okay, fine. And he come back with a few clubs that were like, Hampton and Richmond, Walton Hersham. Walton Hersham really were keen to get me in. Averley, there was quite a few. Tunbury's, there was a few. And I spoke to Billy Rowley, who I speak to now, probably my favourite coach. Like, really, really good detail in what he does. Like, he's got a good career, 100%. So invested in football. I speak to him once a week, just in general, because he brought me in and allowed me again to find a love for football after not playing or being in and around, just travelling here and there, playing bit parts of a season, which is always difficult, to be fair, especially at my age. And he brought me in to found the love again. Played high up the pitch, right wing. We played 14 games. We lost one game in 14 games when I was there. Scored 4 goals, had 12 assists or something like that, 10 to 12 assists. Like, just found the love, just enjoyed playing again. It just got that spark. And yeah, I'm very grateful for him, because I wasn't keen on it, but once I spoke to him and then I got there, it was one of the best decisions I made, to be honest. And I got another friend and somebody that is just attention to detail, investment, giving youngsters chances, trusts young players, goes and watches under 18s games. Got Daz there, great guy as well, works in at Chelsea. young aspiring coach. Detail, what they do is unbelievable, and they have definitely got a future in becoming good management teams. When people see the commitment that they give and what they can bring, it only takes that one little lucky chance that they get. They're going to have a good run in football. 100%, not a doubt in my mind.
And I think the club that you're at now are going to have a good run this season, Farnham Town. Obviously, there's been quite a lot of hype around them on social media as well, because I believe they went like 60 games unbeaten or something ridiculous, right? So to join that environment now, and there's also a player that I want to talk about, but to be around that environment now and to work alongside that. Yeah, I'm sure you do. But so this season,
so like the Farnham Town one, listen, when I decided to leave, the minute I left Dorking, it got announced. My phone must have rang time and time again. Very grateful. I had like 7 or 8 Step 2 clubs straight away asking me if I'd go and sign for them. I had every club in Step 3 pretty much ring me from all leagues, from the league I'm in now, from the Roman Prem, asking me what I was doing, which they were open to, and spoke to Harry, Hugo, and we were trying to figure out. He was telling me what they could offer me, what they could do, and we weren't sure on it at the time. I weren't sure on it at the time, and it kind of fizzled out a little bit. Spoke to a few people, and then I thought, you know what? I text Harry and I said, because I've followed the journey of Farnham, and they've got a great setup, and what he's doing there is amazing. I talk about Harry in high regards. He's very good at what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Everyone thinks that it's a money club. It genuinely isn't. He is invested in the club, and he puts money into the club, but it's not like, let's sign Bobby Joe Taylor, there's £1,500 a week. It's genuinely not the case. So I was really intrigued. So I then texted him and said, let's meet up, because I'm, like I said to you earlier on the podcast, I'm not somebody that, you can sit behind a phone and think about what you want to reply. I want to sit there, put face to the voice. Let's talk. You can learn about me. I can learn about you. And he was like, yeah, cool. Only thing I ask, can you come around my house? And he lives 10 minutes away from me in Cobham. Can you come round? He said, because I've just come back from Stag. He come back from somewhere. He said, so it's an early start. I said, yeah, no problem. So I went round and we spent an hour. That night I signed for Farnham. Because we sat down, we spoke really in depth, the vision of the club, what they've done already, which I already knew about, the players he was bringing in, how much he wanted to bring me in, and how much Jono wanted me to come. He said, we can't miss out on a player of this quality if he wants to come and drop down. And also, to be honest, from September, it's one night a week. We've got top of the range people that he's got in the club, like Givo's, the S&C, who works with top athletes, like professionally, who is involved with the club. So he gives us programs to follow, and it allows me to now focus also on the coaching career, right? So it allows me to now focus on full time with Dorking, Monday to Friday, with the academy lads, trying to obviously nurture them into the first team. So Wednesday night, it allowed me then to actually focus on that as well, because listen, there's no sugarcoating it, man. I'm 30 now, be 31 in February. I'm not getting any younger. I'm very experienced. I'm at a club that's got very ambitious, that might get to where we want to be anyway, where I'd like to play if I could. So do you know what? When I went and sat down with him, I said, after we sat down, we got an agreement, and I went, let's do it. And he said, can you come tonight? I said, no problem. And then that brings me to what you're probably going to ask me. I turned up and Harry Cooksley was there. He was there on the pitch, and I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm just bored, because you live around the corner. But at this point, I didn't know he was going on Love Island. And he said, hello, greet me. Hello, Bob, you all right? And I spoke to him a little bit. And I haven't seen him since.
Well, obviously, he's been quite busy with the whole Love Island shenanigans, right? But do you know when he's coming back? Do you think he'll be integrated into the squad this season?
I don't know when he's coming back. I do know with it. Supposedly, I'm pretty sure he is going to come back. He's been a football player all his life, played full time as well. So you can't just switch off from that. I think he's very busy at the moment. You've got to appreciate that. I actually don't know in depth, to be fair, but as far as I'm aware, he is coming back, and I think it won't be too far away. But at the minute, I think he's probably pretty busy, as you already know. And I'm sure there's probably money to be made from that. So, I mean, you have to sort of accept that. But I don't know. I've not seen him yet, to be fair. I've not seen him. He has messaged in the group chat a few times. So I do believe he's coming back, because we probably all got questions that we all want to ask him anyway. But I think it's in the fines list. We're not allowed to. So he has to say we're not allowed to ask.
Well, so in this season, then obviously with Harry coming back, did you watch him on Love Island?
I did. Me and my missus did. Yeah, we actually got upset when there was nothing to watch at 9 o'clock at night. To be fair, it was in the routine. So I'll be honest with you, though, mate. I only watched it because he was on it. I don't really watch too much TV. I actually am too active. I'm always busy, so I don't really get the chance to. But I did manage to get home. Me and the missus sat down after we put the baby down, and we managed to watch all the way through. So it was definitely entertaining. Let's put it that way.
Well, last thing that I wanted to say is obviously this season there's going to be a lot of hype around the club, obviously with Harry as well. But I think that this club is obviously on the up, and they've done sponsorship deals with some pretty cool people. I think like Pepper Army, right? So that's quite cool. So this season, where do you want to be come the final day? Obviously, except from promotion, on a personal level, where would you want to be?
Well, just an injury-free season. Contributions as much as possible, being higher up in the pitch, helping the young players that are at the club, giving any experience that I can give to them boys, because I always love to help, obviously. And then obviously that, just the ambition of cementing somewhere as a home again, as such, if you like, and trying to achieve what we all want to do, which is back to back to back, right? That would be, some story. So we've had a good start, but there's a long way to go. I've made that clear to everyone. There's no point looking at league tables at the moment. Let's just focus on ourselves, keep that momentum, which is something we've got at the minute. Everybody that's not played at this step yet is enjoying the journey. People that have are just, taking it in their stride. And then obviously the ones that have played higher are trying to just give that experience as such to try and push us along. So yeah, looking forward to the weekend. Double header, obviously. Wimborne at home tomorrow and Dorchester away on Monday, which is going to be obviously tough on the legs, but nothing that I'm not used to. So yeah, I've got a sports massage to get going tonight. Prep ready to go for the weekend.
Well, Bobby Joe, I really appreciate you joining me today. Best of luck with the new season, and enjoy that sports massage, because the season's going to be difficult ahead for your body.
Pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me on board. It's really nice to meet you, mate, and good luck with everything.